boom. All right, so we're live. So let me get into snaps, and specifically, I know, Jessica, I want to address your question on the like, hey, how do we create, these like video galleries, and especially if you've got like hundreds of pages, and one of the most kind of like powerful features inside of snaps is something called dynamic pages, where basically you can create the template of a page that you would like. You can then kind of map each element on that page to basically like a spreadsheet, whether that's a Google Sheet or an Airtable or even an internal collection inside of Snaps, which I'll show you. And then all you have to do is input the information. So like with a video, if you had, a video and a description or a title or whatever, you would literally just like copy and paste those links and the text like into that spreadsheet, and then it would automatically generate all the pages as well as all the navigation for you. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
Holy
let
crap.
me create a site here, and then I'm going to share my screen. And can you, Jessica, shoot me, do you have any links for any of those videos, and where are they hosted? Just curious. Do you know? Like, are they like
I
Vimeo or
think it's
YouTube or?
I think it's YouTube.
Okay.
It's for a church, a Korean church.
Okay.
And it's not even a client yet. They were just like showing me what they want. And I was like, holy shit, this is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, no, I love it. Well, and that's honestly, so one of my some of my hope with snaps too is this idea of being able to deliver results in advance, even on those kind of like website type projects, where hopefully because you can build sites in snaps for free. You're not charged until you hit publish, right? So you could build 100 sites and go out there and be like, share these preview links. So I'm here in the snaps editor. So if you were to build something out, let's say you wanted to share it with a potential client, all you do is just go up here to this info and tools, click on the preview link, and you can copy this and you can send this link to them, and they would be able to see like a fully functioning version of the site in this window. They could see what it looks like just on mobile or just on desktop, right? So you could kind of go to them and I think probably spin up a site really quickly and be like, hey, I think this is kind of what you were talking about. Would you like something like this? By the way, I kind of already built it for you. I would have to do a bunch of optimization if you wanted me to actually like finish the project, and here's what the cost would be. So to be able to kind of provide some results in advance would be killer. So the long and short of it, the editor, I won't get too into the weeds on the editor itself, but it works just like any other drag and drop website builder. You've got these elements on the left hand side called widgets, which are just like blocks that you can like drag onto the page wherever you'd like, right? And we have something called sections, where if you like hover over and you see this little plus button, you can click add a section, and you can kind of like quickly build out sites with all these like templates that we've got here. So it's like, oh, I need to add a testimonial section, so let me click on testimonials, and I want to cycle through, which you can even like literally just like preview it on the page and hit this little arrow and kind of like cycle through all the different testimonials, and you're like, oh, I like this one, okay, cool, I'll save. And you can kind of keep building out the page, and it's all just based on like rows and columns and inner rows. There is a little bit of a learning curve on like getting things to line up and getting the padding and spacing all correct. And again, I can help you guys troubleshoot that later.
Gabe, this is very similar to, are you familiar with Elementor Pro
Yeah,
in WordPress?
exactly. Yep.
Very, very similar. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, that's the idea, because I know that I know a lot of people are on Elementor. Some of the stuff that we're looking to build for New JK honestly is built in that because of what we can do with custom code and PHP, and kind of the kind of like custom app side of things.
Yeah.
And this is that just, like, again, the idea is like that simplicity of Weebly, kind of like the power of WordPress. So get in there and play around with it. But with the dynamic pages, again, is where it gets really interesting. So if you want to add a page, and specifically a dynamic page, you can just click over here, new page, and you've got these different page types. You can add a dynamic page. You can also convert an existing page. So if you're like, oh, I really, I have this gallery page designed the way I want it, but I want all these images to come in dynamically, just like I could give a spreadsheet, a Google Sheet, or an Airtable to someone, and they could just like literally just drop photos in there for me. And I want those images to show up in here. You could convert this page by clicking on this settings wheel and go convert to dynamic page. But for our purposes, I'm just going to go new page. We have a few different kind of templates in here for dynamic pages, or you can start with a blank. So I'll just start with a blank one. And I'm going to call this like video sermons. But we need to connect it to a collection. So that's right. Sorry. We're actually going to create the collection first. So I'm going to go create collection, which to show you where the collections live, there's this section called content and then collections. One of the first kind of like the like baked in collections we have, which makes a ton of sense for all the local lead gen stuff, is this thing called business info. I've got some videos and things on this. Like this is super powerful, especially with the template that I just gave all of you guys. I'll show you how to reset the template if you want to build a different kind of site, but the like yellow contractor style lead gen is basically built on this business info panel where you go and you change the business name and it reflects across the entire site. You change the phone number, it reflects across the entire site and all the click to call spaces. But we're going to create so this is just one form of a collection, but you can create as many collections as you want. So I'm going to go over here to collections, go new collection. And if you're a Google Sheet Pro or Airtable Pro, you can use that. You can create your own database if you want to get real crazy with it. And if you want to keep things super simple, you can use an internal collection. So I'm going to do that just for today. I'm going to name this video sermons. And this is basically going to create a sheet. So I know there's a couple things that I'm going to want on my page. So I'm going to create those fields now, but I can always add to the fields later. So I'm going to say, hey, I'm probably going to need a title, and that is a form of text. I'm going to want the video, and I pull in the drop down. I'm like, okay, well, that's a video. I'm going to want maybe a description, and that is again, text. And we can really start there with those kind of three elements. So now I'm going to go back to my pages. I'm going to go new page. I'm going to say, hey, I want a dynamic page, and I'm going to go off of this blank template. I'm going to call this, video sermons. I'm going to connect it to my video sermons collection, and I'm going to click add page. So now with all your other pages that are not dynamic pages, when you make an edit to the page, it changes that individual page. There's a specific URL just for that one page. In this case, you are editing a dynamic page. So you're going to see this thing that says dynamic mode up here. That just tells you you're basically editing a template, like a frame of a page that would then be replicated for as many rows as you have data in your collection. So if you have 10 rows, you're going to have 10 pages. If you have one row, you're going to have one page. Now it is still going to follow a specific page URL structure. So if you click on video sermons over here, click on this little settings wheel, you can click on page URL. It's going to open up the SEO tab, and you can set this kind of URL slug. And the first thing that's going to happen, so all the pages are going to be /video sermons / then whatever the, I'll show you here in the collections, this first item is. So if I would say like sermon 01, sermon 02, I now technically am going to have two pages that are /sermon 01 /sermon 02. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So I go to the page. I want to make some edits, and I go, okay, hey, I want to put in a title here. So I'm just going to like delete these two little elements. And sometimes it gets a little, let me make this bigger actually. That X is so small. There we go. Boom. I'm going to go over to widgets. I'm going to look up for title. I'm going to drag a large title in here. And maybe I want to change the color on that. want it centered. Okay, cool. So now what I need to do, I need to connect this to a piece of data. So I'm literally going to, oops, what's happening here? I'm going to move your guys' faces over there. That'll help. All right. So I'm going to hover over the new title. If I left click on it, it's going to act like a normal text editor. I'm going to be able to edit the text. I click this little green check mark, but if I right click on it, it's going to pull up this menu and you're going to say connect to data down here. Now it's going to say, okay, hey, where do you want to pull this text from in your collection that you've said? So I've said, hey, I want this page to be built off of the collection that's titled sermons, video sermons. And I want this to pull in off of the title. And now I hit done. Because there's nothing in my collection, it's not going to show in here. So let's actually do this. Let's go back to the collection so you can see it kind of in real time as we go. Jessica, can you send me just a YouTube link? Any YouTube? I mean, even if it's not one of the ones for your potential client, that's fine.
How do I do that? Hold on.
Great. And you can put it in Facebook too if that is easier. Great.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah, I'm going to change just because I'm a stickler, change the name on this. And then I'm going to grab some lorem ipsum. I prefer bacon ipsum. Sorry if you're a vegetarian. Dad jokes all day. We do have a limit, by the way, on our text fields. If you're trying to put in like crazy amount of content, you're going to have to break it up. We only support on these internal collections, we only support up to 2,000 characters, which ends up being, between 250 and 300 words. So as long as you're operating in like 300 word blocks, you're fine. If you do like a full custom database, like there's no limit on it. But let's see. Grab that from Messenger. Let me I'll just find a YouTube link because it can be any.
Sorry, it's like their website is not very user friendly. So I'm like trying to search for the damn thing.
No worries. Here, I'll put up this video I put together the other day. All right. So I'm just going to put in the link to the video. All right, sweet. So now we've got something in each one of those sections for that first row. So if I go over here now, it's going to, see, it's going to pull in from that that page. Now I can still edit it. There we go. So let's say I want the video right below that. I'm going to go over to widgets. I'm going to go to video. I'm going to pull this video widget onto the page. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, which if I click on the settings wheel, I'm going to go connect to data. And it knows to look only for data fields that are tagged as video. So if in your collection you accidentally have it as text, it would not show up in this dropdown. So that's something you could kind of like troubleshoot. But I click video, and now boom, it's going to show the video in that spot. I could edit the design of this if I wanted to like right click and edit the design. I could say, hey, I want this to be, a certain size, or I just want it to be full width. You can kind of edit the spacing, in here. Again, spacing is one of those things that gets really, you just got to get used to kind of how it works. But let's say I wanted to go like that. I'm going to delete this stuff. And let's say I wanted this to be my kind of like description. I'm going to go connect to data, description. And then let's say I just wanted like one more piece. Let's say I wanted an image in this kind of section. So I'm going to drag actually, because right now this is simply an image being used in a column. So you can put images and videos in rows and columns. So like if I hover over row and click edit design, I could put an image in the background of this whole row if I wanted. Let me just look up free image, and we have a bunch. You can, yeah, ties into like Unsplash and stuff, so you can have free images in here if you want, or it could be a color or whatever, right? You could do the same thing in a column, which is what's happening right here. And there's this spacer, so I'm going to delete this spacer. I'm going to click on this column. I'm actually going to delete the background image in the column, and instead I'm going to use the image widget. I'm going to drop that in place here. I'm not going to put in an image just yet because I actually want to tie that to the collection. So I'm going to go over to content collections. I'm going to add one more field that's like, we'll just call this thumbnail. And I'm going to say, hey, that's an image. And I'm going to go back over here. And now I'm going to collect or connect this piece of data, or this widget rather, to that deal. And then I'm going to delete the rest of this stuff. The last thing I'm going to do, which goes to your like navigation point, which is like, okay, well, if you're automatically generating all of these pages, how are you going to be able to like link to them and kind of like link between them and have, you know, good, yeah, just kind of like usability on the site, especially when you have tens or hundreds of pages. So I would recommend using what's called the list widget. So you go in here to just search for list. We can drop this down into its own row. And then I'm going to connect this to a piece of data. And what the way the list widget works is it's going to connect to an entire collection. So it's basically going to pull in different pieces. It's going to say, okay, well, what image do you want me to show? I'm going to say, okay, we'll show the thumbnail image. Title is title. It got most of this stuff right, actually. And then connect the link text to, let's say we want the link text to be the title as well. And then it's automatically going to link to the actual page for the pages that are shown. So now I've got this kind of list that's going to be pulling in for all of the other pages, and I can set the design on how I want this to look. So if I right click on this and go edit design, there's this layout feature here. You can kind of mess with and see what you like best. If you want it to be like super visual and like just images, and this is going to be a lot better if we put some content into this collection. So let's do that real quick, and I'll literally just like copy a bunch of these. We'll just do this 3, 4, 5. Awesome. And I'm just going to do a quick copy and paste.
For the thumbnail column, where would, like, what's the format that we would be pasting the photos in? Is it a link to an online photo, or do we have to physically drop in a JPEG file or something like that?
Yeah, great question. So it depends on what kind of collection you're using in Create. Like if you have, like here with an internal collection, you would need to upload the actual image to your content library with the image picker here inside of Snaps. If you are using Airtable, Airtable supports the upload of images. So you would upload the images to that kind of whatever they call it in Airtable, the cell, you know, the field in Airtable. Google Sheets supports links, so you could put a link to the image and it would pull the link in. So it really just depends. But like you can see here in an internal collection, you know, if you had a VA or a team or someone that was pulling those in, they would simply go in here, you would click on this field, you'd pull up your image picker, which, by the way, if you have an existing site from your client, this is a really great way to get a bunch of content and put something together that you can show them kind of results in advance. So let's say I wanted to go and pull in a bunch of images from their site without them knowing about it, so I could like spin up an example. You go to content. Sorry, let me exit out of this. You go import content, and then you literally just plug in the URL. So I'm going to put in edhpoolcleaner.com. It's going to search that site. It's going to find all the photos and graphics.
No way.
You click save, and it's going to
crazy.
automatically rip those into my image library, which is Now it's not going to do that with like actual words and copy and stuff. It's only going to pull in those graphics, but it makes migrating a site, and especially if you're trying to like convince a business owner like why they would want to you to start doing SEO for them or doing a new site build, it's like killer, right? So if I
How
go over
about
here,
for like a Facebook business page? What if a client uploads all his photos to his Facebook business page? We can put that URL in there as well.
you could try. It doesn't work on every site. It depends on how, like if they've got like crazy security features on their site, it may not allow it. So it's just something to test.
Got it.
Um,
That's pretty
but
awesome though.
yeah, no, it was like a super important feature because I just know like I'm trying to think of like this results in advance kind of thing. Like how do we make it easier for you guys to like spin out these sites faster? So if I click on this section now in the image picker, you'll see I've got this is kind of my content library, and now I have this thing that says from old site, which this is everything from that EDH pool cleaner site. And it duplicated a bunch of the images, but like, hey, everything is in there that I want to be in there. So now I could just basically select, my thumbnails for each one of these. So I'm just going to select a bunch. And then there is a, free images too. So you could do a search for, whatever you want, and use all of these kind of like royalty free images on the site as well. I'm just going to add a few more of these.
Where do you access the image picker from the dashboard? Is it under the widgets section?
Yeah, so the image picker itself, there's a bunch of different ways to get to it. From the left-hand sidebar, if you just wanted, like, let's say you have a folder on your computer with a bunch of like content and like graphics and things you wanted to upload all at once, I would just go over here to the left to here, let me close out of this again. Let me hit done, exit out of that. You would go over to content, you would go to site content and manage images. So you can do the same thing with files. Like if you have like PDFs and things that you want to add as a download or something like that, but you go to manage images and it pulls up that image picker. Also, if you are in any of these blocks that are image based, if you click on this guy, for example, and say I wanted to replace this, it's going to pull up a kind of like a shorten, like a smaller version of the image picker, but you can always click full view and open up the whole thing as well too. There is if I go to site content, manage images, there is this like manage images feature too, which like, again, if you're working with a team and you have hundreds and hundreds of images, you want to stay super organized, you can create folders and drop all these into like, hey, here's the folder with all the team images that can be used in certain sites. You can get real crazy with it if you want. But now with our dynamic page, so if I go back to our dynamic page, because I filled out all those rows, I go into video sermons, it's going to give me a preview of what this looks like. So now I have my title, I have my video, I have my description, I have my thumbnail, and then below that, I have all the other sermons showing up, right? And this is where it gets fun because you can, again, mess with how you want this kind of like navigation to look and feel. So like, let's say this title, I want it to pop a little more. So I want like the text to be white and maybe I want it to be bold. If I wanted there to be a little bit of maybe like an animation to it. So like when I hover over it, does a zoom out, or maybe I like a reverse grayscale thing. I could do that. Or on this one, I kind of like the float. Yeah, the float, because it like pops up. So then I would delete this section here at the bottom. I'm, if I'm happy with this page, I can kind of mess with the spacing here a little bit, but if I'm happy with this page, I'm going to go hit done. I'm going to publish my site because I'm in my, there we go. I'll save that. By the way, by default, when you publish the first time, if you don't have a URL ready to go, we'll just publish to this like subdomain that we've got. It's just a generic verifiedsecure.net. But you can have your own domain. Obviously, if you put in your own domain, it'll give you instructions to like set those DNS records. Now I can go test this site. And I did not add, that's right, I did not add a page to the navigation. Let's do that real quick. So if I hover over the navigation and I want to add, let's say, I want to add a custom. Sorry, let's just do this. This page URL was /video sermons. So I'm gonna go back to info. Now that I'm published, by the way, when I go over the info tab, it'll give me that URL. So I can just click on that. I'm gonna go /video or here. And then I actually need the page URL, which was, I think one of them was like 4. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now I can click on any of these and it's going to navigate me to, that other page. So you could do the same thing, with a podcast. We do have a blog feature, that the list feature works very similarly to like a most recent posts or whatever. Because then you can tag different pages and then filter what shows up in some of the list based upon those tags. So you could say, hey, in this section, I only want to show like featured videos versus in this one, I want to show all versus this one, I want to show only the stuff that was about like the marriage series. So it's like, hey, there's like a little navigation widget where it's like, hey, here's the 6 sermons that were on marriage or whatever. So we
do that on dates as well, the dynamic feature. So like, for example, let's say I create a collection, it's all December sermons. Can I have that collection show on the home page for the month of December? Is that something that we can do?
You would just have to basically create a tag for December. So you would just, you can't do it based on a date, but you can say like, hey, you could tag this row as, tag to add December. And then in the list widget only show December 2020 or whatever.
Got it. This is literally what I needed, like down to the T. I was freaking out earlier today because I was like, I cannot do this. Like, I can't do what they need me to do. And I was going to turn it down, this client, to be honest, because I was like, this is going to take way too much time. And I was like fumbling around with Adobe XD to try to build out like a design layout to them and send it. And I was like, oh, I can't, like, this is too much.
Yeah, it's funny. We use XD. So I'm working on a couple of projects. One of them is the new training platform for Dan, because obviously a lot of the new training, all the new training is going to be in Snaps. And then also the dashboard for Snaps, which once you see the new version, so the version that you guys are getting access to is the beta version. We're going to have the new one that's hopefully done, ready for testing middle of the month. All right, Adam had to go. Peace, Adam. We designed both of those in XD, so really familiar with it, and it's a really cool tool. But if you're not a UI designer by trade, like it's a lot. So,
and I kind of like screwed myself because I was like, I'll get you the proposal by this week, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah. Oh man. No worries. Well, yeah. Well, now you've got it. The only other thing that you need to be able to do is so again, I'll load up a bunch of sites for both you guys. I am going to, let me show you one last thing
So
here.
question, if I were to build out a dummy site and within the site, I have like 10 pages that I would create as templates just to show them what I can do for them, would that still be considered one site, or is each page considered a different site?
No, so a site would simply be like a domain, right? So
got it. Okay, so
you can have as many pages as you want. Yeah,
got it. Okay,
unlimited number of pages. We guarantee a 99.9% uptime. Like we use AWS for hosting, so it's like some of the like fastest, most reliable. If something goes down one place, so yeah, all that stuff is included, like the SSL cert, like all that stuff is kind of included. We want to make it super easy. But yeah, so basically anytime you need a different, and that would include sub, by the way. So like so for us, obviously Snaps is built on Snaps. So like our support portal, which is support.snaps.ai. You guys can both check this out. Specifically, I would look at the start here page, because these 2 videos are specifically for our beta testers. So you're going to want to watch this video. This shows you how to pick a new template and reset your site, because that's kind of like a Band-Aid fix for the time being until you have the ability to access our template picker, which we haven't finished building yet. So watch this video. And then the second one is on publishing your site. But this like support.snaps as an example is a separate site because it's a separate domain, even though it's on snaps.ai, it's a different subdomain versus just the like actual like snaps.ai, if that makes sense. So those are two separate sites.
Yeah. Oh my God, this was so amazing. How fast do you think you can upload this recording so that I can literally watch it back like right after this?
Yeah, no, as soon as, so it's on Zoom. So as soon as it finishes encoding, I'll shoot you guys the link in the Messenger channel.
Oh my God, yeah, that'd be great.
I'll load up a bunch of sites for you. And if you need any help specifically with this one client, let me know. My ask would be that, especially if you have other sites that are ready to publish, I need to get some stuff published on here ASAP. And so if you have any like lead gen properties or anything that where it's like literally you just need like a homepage and a contact page to get started, I would love to showcase you guys to the group in that. And that's what I'm looking for. And for the time being, because there's only a few people that are kind of in here using the system, I want to give you my time and help in getting you guys onboarded. I know eventually once we launch this thing, it's going to be probably a little overwhelming. It'll be more like group coaching and stuff. But for the time being, whatever you need, let me know and I will make it happen.
And question, I don't know if you mentioned this in the beginning, but does this have the capability of, let's say I just built a homepage on WordPress and like I want to just migrate that over to here? Is that a thing?
Yeah, so it would have to be manual. So you would have to like basically rebuild the page here inside of Snaps, but I can send me the URL. I'd be happy to help you with that and show you kind of like the quickest way to do it. If it's super complex, then maybe we need to pull in some extra help, but my chances are
not complex. It was built on Elementor. So it's like very similar to honestly this.
Yeah. I mean, like, again, I'm not a designer by any means. And you saw what you know, is able to do, like,
you're flying by
pretty quickly. Like,
yeah.
And it's really just getting to know like what widgets are available, how the spacing works, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so shoot me a link to, you know, whatever you got. Let's get it migrated over. Is that WordPress one already published?
Yeah, actually, I can actually give you the URL right now.
Perfect. Send it to me, and then we'll get it set up and dialed. I just migrated a bunch over from of Dan's like Folsom sites, like in fact, because we were doing some tests. Obviously, the most important thing for us was like, hey, is this going to affect a ranking site if we do a migration? And as long as the URL structure match, you're totally good. Like if you do a search here for Folsom Cabinetry, like his folsomcabinetry.com is literally still, you know, showing up at the top. This is a Snap site. It was on Weebly for I don't know how long up until this point, and we basically just rebuilt the site. We made sure all the URLs matched, and then we just pointed the DNS now to the new Snap site, and nothing broke.
That looks really good.
Thanks. Yeah, and like Donnie's moving all this stuff over here, so like everything's moving in this direction. So excited, stoked for you guys to be kind of early in. Yeah, shoot me that link. I'll get you the link to the recording, and then let me know, you know, if and whatever questions that you have, and then yeah, you can, you know, as you're building stuff out, like I said, you can send that preview link to a client before you publish by just going info preview link. And then when it comes time to publish a new site, when you click that publish button, it's basically just going to redirect you over to a different page to pick your package. The only thing I ask is that you don't share pricing yet publicly with the group. We're kind of like testing and we're trying to figure out what makes the most sense with what our costs are. But currently the way it sits, it's $12 a month if you go month to month, or a little over $8 a month if you pay annually, basically 97 for the year or $12 a month. So that's kind of the price.
Is that for a set number of websites, or?
That's per site. And then Dan and I are working on like, hey, how do we do the package deal? So as you hit certain tiers, we're probably going to do like 10 packs to help bring down the cost. And then obviously anybody that hits kind of like the Century Club, that's going to be a really big deal. So like once you have 100 sites, there's going to be some like major incentives and bonuses, especially when you look at things like, you know, potentially wrapping in like free call sling numbers and all that kind of jazz. Once you're running, you know, I know Adam specifically, you know, has a ton of sites, right? So if you're running a ton of them through Snaps, we want to make sure that it's cost effective for everyone. if you're doing it kind of onesie twosie to start, then that's probably kind of what the pricing is going to be. It's super competitive with everything else out there. I mean, I'm never going to be able to compete directly with WordPress in that sense. That's always going to be cheaper. But in terms of Weebly, Wix, Squarespace, we're going to beat all those guys.
Yeah, for sure. This is
Two
awesome.
questions.
Oh.
Sorry, two questions I had for you, Gabe, was one, I noticed when you were going through the tabs, there was a bit for SEO on there, and it looked similar, almost like how Rank Math is incorporated into Elementor Pro as you're designing. Is that,
Yep.
I don't know if you, like, what are you guys using for that, or what all is incorporated with that right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're very similar, kind of like to Weebly. You've got, page titles, descriptions, keywords, social images that you can include in here on a per page basis. We are working on something as well to be able to use and kind of like publish a schema for your websites, which pulls off of this business info panel. So that was something that I had mentioned, which if I pull open, I'll do this. Actually, let me do this. I'll show you a reset site, which is kind of something you would need to do anyway. So if I go over here to design and reset site, I'm going to go complete reset. So what this is going to do is going to wipe out all the work that I just did, but and it's going to wipe out all the data, but I'm going to go and pick a new template. I'm going to search for lead gen. This is the site that I loaded you up with, the template I loaded you up with first, which the way we built our templates, so some of our templates, not all of them are wired up, but like this one specifically is wired up to leverage that business info panel, which schema also will be once we have like click button ability to kind of like publish schema. So anywhere on the site that you see this little double ring, that's showing there's a piece of connected data there. So like this is a click to call button. This is the business name. If I make a change here in this business info panel and I say Devin's Great Gen site, and let's say I change the number, to my phone number and save that. As soon as I kind of exit out of this, the whole site's going to refresh. And now across the entire site, this call us now, that's my number. I go over to the contact page, same thing, numbers are there. Business hours are part of that. So for schema, everything pulls from this business info panel. The only thing that is not pulling in there, I'm totally blanking right now. The images pulls from business images. So you have to drop business images in here for Google to pull in those business images. And then it's not the, it is the geo. We have address, but the actual geo, like the longitudinal, latitudinal, like physical location of your business needs to be pulled in right now through the API. So we're working on building that into the dashboard. But obviously SEO tools are like kind of at the top of the list for us. And a lot of even the widgets that we're kind of building and working on at the moment now too, like we've some directory widgets that we're working on refining to basically do what we just did with kind of those dynamic pages on steroids. So you could basically own your own directory or have a piece of one, so.
Nice. And then with Snaps, I take it it's just like any other website builder where you can add admin privileges, user limits, things like that for bringing on a team, or?
Yep, exactly. So in kind of like V1 of our dashboard, there's not going to be any sort of like CMS built in. That is going to be part of like V1.1. So for the time being, the way that would work is you would just need to reach out to support if you needed additional users to have permissions on a particular account. So if you're building a site for a client, then you would just need to message us at Snap support, be like, hey, Bob at xyzchurch.com. Can you, set him up with an account? We would set them up with an account, assign them permission to that site. So now they have access to log in the same as you would, but that is something that's kind of coming down the road. We were going to put that into V1. It was going to so much complexity and like we just wanted to launch the thing. Yeah.
How about
yes,
like
that is coming.
on the front end, for example, like for the church website, he wants to be able to have the people log in to be able to see the sermons. Is that something that we can do yet?
Yeah, so you can password protect pages.
Right. Yeah.
So you would just go to the page, click this little settings wheel, set a password. The only thing there is it is, it's a single password for the page. It's not like they would have a unique login.
Yeah, that's fine.
We are, that's another piece we're kind of looking at. There are some integrations with like other member portals like MemberStack and MemberSpace that make it easy to create like a full-on membership site on Snaps. But for the time being, yeah, it would just be that kind of like use a password.
That should suffice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I'm like excited to jump in and figure
I
it
haven't been
out.
this excited to build a site in a while.
Love it. Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah. Well, I'll send you guys both the links so you can watch this again.
Yeah, and again, I'm gonna send you that link of the lead gen that I literally just built the homepage yesterday.
Do it. Awesome. That'd be rad.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your
Absolutely.
time.
No worries. Well, yeah, glad you guys were available to hop on last minute. And then I'll make sure to get, you guys are both on the list for the boot camp too. So I'm going to get like a full boot camp out and going where we'll go into kind of some of the other features and things. You'll be already kind of like a step ahead of everyone because we kind of did the advanced course before we did the basic course. But glad you guys are digging it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for this. This is exactly what I needed for literally this weekend. So this is perfect. So
awesome.
The timing is just.
All right. Bye, y'all.
I'm glad. So I was like, yeah, let's get on. We've been on the works for this for way too long. And I'm just like, man, I can't wait for it. There's a couple of people I got to show like a sneak peek of like original version at Vegas. And Dan's itching to get it out. I'm itching to get it out. So I'm like, I'm stoked it's in a place. And there's a couple little things we got to do manually, like creating the accounts and spin up sites.
Honestly, the fact that you guys were able to build this and you guys started mastermind like just back in March is kind of incredible. Like I'm very impressed. This looks amazing.
Yeah, I've never worked with anyone that works as fast as Dan does, and it's gnarly, but it's freaking awesome. It's because it's like stuff gets done, which is cool, and it's cool to see his just like his heart for everyone too, and like where he wants us to be able to go and kind of like move as a group, and like this is just one of those things that's going to give us so much more efficiency and then really like leverage as a group too. Like there's so many like deals and things that we could do together collectively down the pike, like all being kind of on the same page, using the same systems. And it's like Weebly's been great. And the great thing about Weebly and even WordPress is, sometimes the simplicity of things, and like none of us on this call are like super techie. I guess I'm somewhat, but I like don't know how to code, right? And we're kind of reliant on Weebly for so long, or WordPress, or like plugins that are available. And now it's like with this and with lead generated and that kind of stuff, like we can build whatever we want, whatever the group needs, which I think is the best way to build a software company. My buddies that have done it before, like that's how they've grown and been successful, is really having like a loyal tribe of people that are excited about the product and then can inform what it needs to become. And so any bugs, ideas, things that you would love to see, hangups, please shoot them my way.
I think that's what's amazing though. The fact that you're open to feedback and that this can change based on our feedback, and the fact that you're there to support us if I have a question is like crazy. It's like incredible. Sure. But yeah, well, I'll definitely keep you posted.
Yeah, I'm excited to sandbox this for sure. See if we can break anything.
I'm sure you'll break a lot. But let me know what you do break. If you're doing tons of text, copy and paste tends to work better than actually typing in the text editor, because it is web-based. It's constantly refreshing and saving. So sometimes you'll see the cursor move around. But yeah, if there's anything specific you run into, message me, let me know. Screenshots are helpful. And also specific, like the site link, because I can hop into the site and kind of see where you're at and what's going on. Like I was just helping Ryan Escalera yesterday with some like padding issues, and it was a simple fix, but it was hard just looking at the screenshots. But when I was able to jump in there, I was like, oh yeah, here, click this button and it syncs to the top.
Got it.
Nice. All right. Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Gabe. This is amazing.
Right on.
Yes. All right.
Awesome,
Talk to you guys later.
Sounds good. Catch you later.
Thanks.
See ya.